Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, I would like to delve into Daniel's jail arcs up to this point, because, as with anything with Daniel Larson, it is not without its own mishaps and tribulations. With Daniel getting investigated by an FBI agent, Daniel getting essayed in jail by his cellmates, and even Clark, one of Daniel's most devious managers, possibly facing jail time for his misdeeds. To begin, we should start with just who Daniel Larson is. Daniel is a homeless, schizophrenic pedophile with a long history of evil deeds, such as physically assaulting elderly and disabled people, stalking and harassing an underage music star, and most relevant to today, when on over 100 occasions he would make extreme threats, with the most sinister to include him threatening to commit a mass him threatening to multiple businesses, including the White House and the U.S. Capitol, and would even have a developmental disability resource center in Colorado be evacuated after his threats. These threats would eventually launch an initial investigation by the Secret Service / FBI around mid-2023. This investigation would be primarily led by the infamous Secret Service agent Daniel McDougal, a person who many people thought was just an elaborate troll, but as we will see, he is very real. McDougal would somehow contact Daniel Larson and would request a meetup. Daniel would live stream his walk to the meetup with him approaching two people who greet him and ask if he would stop live streaming, which he promptly does.
Hey. Okay. I just did.
This would eventually go nowhere, with Daniel Larson being trolled by Daniel McDougal impersonators / trolls, leading to the incidents such as the Olive Garden incident, where he would make the bizarre claim that the manager of the establishment was printing his nudes in the back and would subsequently pull the fire alarm. However, worthy of note is that on December 22nd, 2023, Clark, one of Daniel's managers, would claim that McDougal is demanding he record all the phone calls with him and Daniel Larson, with Clark claiming he denied it.
Clark, my entertainment manager, has told me that Daniel McDougal has talked to him and is demanding that Clark records all phone calls with me, and Clark is claiming that he denied it.
This is most likely a troll / lie and could be considered obstruction of a federal investigation, as in response, Daniel Larson would threaten to murder Daniel McDougal.
I will fucking have Daniel McDougal fucking killed.
Then, on February 3rd, 2024, Daniel Larson would be arrested for evasion of justice and placed in Arapahoe County Jail following multiple failures to appear in court for a previous incident. This is despite his exceptionally lenient arrangement by the court, as Daniel would purposefully miss his hearings for weeks in order of doing things such as going to fake UCLA college classes and focusing on his career as a celebrity. Daniel went live in the early hours of February 3rd while strolling around outside, claiming that cop cars were following him around throughout the live stream, even going around the block 3 times looking for him. At the end of the stream, Daniel abruptly stated that he was going into lockdown and the stream ended. Daniel would then make his way into a mall food court and would be enjoying a bite. Unbeknownst to Daniel, however, is that the police were performing a sting operation on Daniel, currently surrounding him entirely, and would even have a plainclothes officer for the operation. Multiple cops would apprehend him unexpectedly, placing his arms behind his back and telling him to calm down. They would take his phone for evidence and begin to detain him. It was also later discovered that the whole Aurora Police Department received an email briefing about Daniel, along with his threats about shooting up a hospital, and were told to apprehend him immediately when seen. On February 5th, 2024, Daniel Larson was scheduled to appear in court, which would have been live streamed. However, Due to trolls, the live stream would be shut down. His bail would also be set during this appearance, which would be a staggering $20,000. Then, on February 8th, Daniel Larson would make a phone call with Clark, where Daniel Larson would talk about the details of his arrest and setting up a possible crowdfunding. Larson would also talk about his daily life in jail, which includes playing cards and writing songs, and would even make a statement on a cellmate calling him a okay guy and that he enjoys his company sometimes. But as we will get into later, his cellmate would later prove to be a whole lot sinister and evil than he first led Daniel on. On February 12th, Daniel Larson would speak to Clark again, and he would tell Clark a bunch of things, such as that the jail tablets have Wi-Fi access, and most notably that the other inmates have been showing people Daniel's photoshopped images and nudes. Then, on February 14th, 2024, Daniel appeared in court for hearing on advisement, according to Reddit user u/effectiverun8848. During the hearing, that Daniel's attorney would state that Daniel had been diagnosed with autism and PTSD, and that Daniel had friends assisting him with finding shelter via motels, and that Daniel made money on TikTok through his fame. His bail would also be lowered from $20,000 to $5,000 with a cash option of $500. However, even with this lowered bail, Daniel would be unable to post a bond and would be pretty much stuck. On that same day, Flexburger would release a second conversation between Clark and Daniel. However, for some reason, this seems to have been removed from Flexburger's YouTube account. Then, things would take a dark turn when Daniel's cellmate, given the name Sweet Tea by fans, would supposedly sexually assault Daniel, with Daniel having great fear over Sweet Tea, which, wow, I just don't see anyone else talking about this, but this is literally insane, and this Sweet Tea individual seems to be some depraved, sick individual, considering Daniel's health and overall cleanliness, with him having an extensive history of rashes, scabies, and his distaste for showering. Daniel would move from Arapahoe County Jail to Boulder County Jail, and on February 2nd, 2024, Daniel would have his last call for this arc, which would be once again be with Clark. Daniel would talk about his legal challenges and a plea deal, Daniel's plans with Grace, and a video update for the Reddit, where him and Clark would beg to be bailed out if he was not released by Friday. Clark would also continue to troll Daniel and feed into his delusions of Grace and his fake college enrollment. Then, Daniel would be released from jail on March 1st, 2024, following a court hearing and sentencing to 1 year of probation, thereby ending the first jail arc. The next day, Daniel would also reveal the incident with the Sweet Tea individual. Following his release from jail, Daniel would be up to a lot of things, such as moving into a homeless shelter and then getting kicked out of said homeless shelter, which was supposedly due to Dylan Clark, another manager of Daniel Larson, pretending to be homeless to gain entry into the homeless shelter, and allegedly would hit Daniel Larson, getting him kicked out of the homeless shelter. Although the authenticity of this claim by Daniel Larson would be taken into question. What can be confirmed, however, is that previously in 2014, Dylan Clark was arrested for making a series of threatening phone calls to schools that have previously experienced school shootings, such as Sandy Hook. So this claim is not too far out of the realm of possibility. He would also have a fan meetup. However, this wouldn't end up well, as he would be attacked by trolls and even have water poured on him. He would also be hospitalized for food poisoning, be arrested, and almost immediately released twice, and most importantly, having a federal warrant issued for his arrest on April 25th, 2024, for his multiple extremist threats mentioned previously. And on the 30th of April, Daniel McDougall would arrest him during his probation meeting and would be booked for 7 counts of uttering threats, thus beginning the second jail arc. It is worth mentioning that Daniel is being prosecuted by the federal government, which has over a 95% conviction rate, so it is unlikely that Daniel Larson is getting away scot-free. Daniel would be placed into the Jefferson County Detention Facility, with the charge being courtesy housing for another agency, before being transferred the next day to Clear Creek County Jail. It was originally thought that his arrest was due to Daniel violating probation several times, as in the days following up to his arrest, Daniel defrauded a Buffalo Wild Wings and admitted to viewing CP. However, according to a call made to his manager, Clark, Daniel was arrested for the several terroristic threats he's made over the years, and according to his claims, he has federal charges which could land him in prison for several years. This was then confirmed by leaked documents confirming that he had 7 counts of threats, which, if all placed on him, could land him in prison for 65 years. This all happened after close to a year of Secret Service agent Daniel McDougall, who many people thought to be a troll at first, investigating him for his various antics. During his time in jail, there would be several phone calls with Clark and Larson, with the first one revealing a lot of details, such as Clark revealing to Larson that he has been trolling him the entire time, Clark revealing to Larson that he has been fired for his antics with Daniel Larson because he would be too drunk with the Larson lore finale, Clark revealing that this is the most important call of his life, despite him claiming during the same phone call that he has hated interacting with Daniel for the past 10 months. After revealing this, he would abruptly hang up without letting Daniel express his feelings. Then Clark and Bob would be messaging each other, with Bob revealing Daniel had a fight in jail and that Daniel wants to talk to Clark man to man, and Bob would even thank him for his previous contact, which reveals that Bob doesn't really know that Clark is a troll. Then, despite his claims that he hated talking to Daniel and that he would never speak to him again, would call Daniel, where Daniel would immediately begin to apologize to Clark, to the restaurants, to Bob, to the fans, and to Grace and her family, and would ask to be friends again, which Clark would just sidestep and ignore. It was recently revealed that there would be a file for a motion for evaluation, which pretty much is boilerplate to start the process for saying that he is not fit for trial and throw him in a mental hospital. This would be filed by both the defenders and prosecutors, with their logic being his past, his interactions with the jail employees, the government, and the judge of his case. So it appears that Daniel is in the process of being declared mentally unfit for trial. So instead of going to jail, he will be confined to a mental institution. It is important to note that he will still be held accountable for his actions and will just serve his time in a psychiatric facility rather than a prison. So it would seem that we have seen the last of Daniel Larson, at least for a while. What is not known, however, is the fate of his trolls, who played a huge role in Daniel's actions, coercing him into making these threats, as well as impersonating a federal agent. One can only hope that these sick people get what they deserve, as to send a message to other trolls